Pokemon is the world's largest media franchise, from manga to TV shows to, of course, video games. As such, it's no surprise that Pokemon has been a staple of the internet ever since its inception, and this is seen clearly through its constant presence on YouTube. Ever since the original days of Let's Play videos back in 2009, Pokemon has been everywhere on YouTube. But YouTube is not the same platform it used to be. The algorithm is different, the audience is different, and the strategy is different. Yet somehow, Pokemon has withstood the test of time and is still relevant on YouTube over 15 years later. With all the changes to YouTube over the years, the creators have changed the Pokemon games themselves to match what people wanted to see. Welcome to the evolution of Pokemon on YouTube.
Hey everybody, it's Sugar Conroy. Alright.
Hey everyone, welcome back to...
Hello and welcome to part 3 of my walkthrough.
In 2009, the term Let's Play barely existed. Rather, people simply recorded themselves playing a game and uploaded it to YouTube. And this took off like wildfire. People felt like they were watching a friend play Pokemon on the couch next to them. These Let's Plays were incredibly popular, and this is seen so clearly by the success of the early Let's Plays by creators like Chugga Conroy. His videos were just normal playthroughs of Pokemon games, starting with Fire Red. He simply played the game, start to finish, like a normal person would. The thing that helped him stick out from the crowd at the time was the organization and informative nature of the videos. They were edited down, so unnecessary footage was cut out, and only the important things were left in. This might sound like nothing special, and it's common practice today, but there were no standards to be held to in 2009. Most videos were completely unedited and thrown onto the website. The fact that this creator was not only editing out the boring bits, but also adding in custom screens explaining Pokemon's stats, abilities, evolutions, and more was so far beyond what anybody else was doing at the time. Plenty of creators got their start during this time. Pokemon was the perfect launching point for a new gaming creator since every playthrough was unique. The Pokemon team would be different, the strategies would change, and it always felt like a fresh experience. Viewers were also enamored by the personality behind these videos. Creators were already beginning to build followings specifically for their character. Some were funny, some were charming, some were easy to watch. Different creators had different performances, and many of these creators used Pokemon to launch their careers. Pokemon videos during this time period were exceptionally slower paced. A full series playthrough could be over 60 episodes long, with each episode running about 10 minutes each due to the old YouTube time limit. There was no custom thumbnail, no fancy title. The video would just be called Pokemon Fire Red Part 1. But because of the nature of the YouTube landscape, these videos dominated the gaming side of YouTube, garnering millions of views over the years. For perspective, when this video first came out, YouTube only had 100 million users worldwide, yet it still managed to garner over 3 million views over the years. Most modern videos fail to attain that level of notoriety, even with YouTube's current 2.5 billion users.
What's up everyone and welcome to Pokemon Naranja.
What's up guys, I'm Hayden and welcome to Pokemon Snake.
Shofu in this bitch like Ash Gray version.
People spent the next 3 to 4 years watching creators play Pokemon, but after 4 years, the audience had already pretty much seen it all. After all, there were only 6 distinct generations, with X and Y having just released, and you can only watch the same 6 games so many times before getting tired of it, no matter how fresh each playthrough was. That's when the next era of Pokemon videos emerged. People wanted new games, but Nintendo only released a new mainline Pokemon game every 3 years. So what was the solution? To make our own Pokemon games. Enter the world of Pokemon ROM hacks. Talented, creative people began diving into the source code of these games and rearranging them to make their own unique adventures. Some hacks simply changed some story and encounters, like Pokemon Ash Gray. It was the same as Fire Red, except you got to play as Ash Ketchum, starting with his iconic Pikachu. There were also far more ambitious projects like Pokemon Snakewood and Pokemon Naranja. These hacks took the base game and totally revamped them. New areas, new trainers, and even new Pokemon. Everyone jumped on the idea of playing with brand new Pokemon without waiting for Nintendo to release a new game. The biggest holdup was the difficulty of emulation at the time. People were cautious and unsure of exactly what emulation was, let alone applying hack patches to ROM files, so it was difficult to actually get your hands on these games. However, content creators like Hayden and Munching Orange took matters into their own hands. They made entire video series playing through these unique and, albeit unpolished, games. The videos themselves were still similar to the classic Pokemon Let's Plays from 2009, but with just a bit more polish. Custom thumbnails were beginning to see use. They weren't incredibly special, but often featured the episode number in the thumbnail along with a relevant screenshot from the video. People flocked to these videos to view these new but unavailable Pokemon games. They'd stick around to see all the crazy new Pokemon that show up. These ROM hack videos never reached quite the same level of buzz as the original Let's Plays of Pokemon, but could still break 500,000 views and had their own defining place in YouTube history.
Alright guys, it's Gameboy Luke here with Padders.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to more Pokemon Diamond.
What's going on, Shady people? Shady Penguin here, welcoming you to the first or second.
Now, during the ROM hack era, something else peeked its head out of the ground. In 2012, a small webcomic gained widespread fame and became a well-known meme in the Pokemon community. This comic would go on to spawn thousands of a brand new type of Pokemon YouTube video, the Nuzlocke Challenge. The Nuzlocke comic went viral when people found out about it. It detailed the adventure of someone playing through Pokemon Emerald, giving their Pokemon nicknames and personalities, and telling a completely unique story based on their experience. But there was a twist to the playthrough that kept everybody hooked and reading until the next page. If a Pokemon fainted, it was considered dead and must be released. People were hooked on the comic, and everyone who read it immediately went home, pulled out their Game Boy, and started a new game using the Nuzlocke rules. Death was permanent, every battle was a risk, and beating a boss felt infinitely more rewarding than ever before. Interestingly, even though Nuzlocke had been around since before 2012, they wouldn't see YouTube fame until 2014 or 15. At this point, it had been almost 6 years since Pokemon first started its YouTube journey, and a whole new wave of creators had stepped up to the plate. Creators like Shady Penguin, Game Boy Luke, and Hoodlum Callow. These creators were totally unlike those who came before. They knew the Pokemon games inside and out, and assumed the viewer did too. These videos were no longer just about showing the game off. It was about flexing their knowledge of the game while also drawing people in with their boisterous, charismatic personalities. Loud and charming was the name of the game, and these more modern creators knew it. The high energy of these personas combined with the tense, dangerous nature of Nuzlocke challenges were a match made in heaven. People watched these videos because they knew there would be a loud, comedic meltdown if they ever lost one of their favorite Pokemon. These videos also had incredible viewer retention because you never knew exactly when a Pokemon would die, if it died at all. It kept viewers' eyes glued to the screen, and YouTube rewarded this watch time by pushing these Nuzlocke videos in the algorithm. The videos themselves were also changing in format. Thumbnails were getting brighter and more eye-catching, which matched the new high-energy form of videos. The series themselves were now made of less videos, but much longer. A full series could be 15 to 20 episodes, but running about half an hour each. Titles got longer and more intricate as new variations of the Nuzlocke emerged. Egglocks, randomizers, monotype Nuzlocks, and a massive game changer, Soul Links. A Soul Link was effectively a two-player Nuzlocke, and this led creators to begin massive collaborations between one another. This previously single-player experience was now multiplayer, and this led to content creators not only creating unique experiences, but also sharing their communities between each other. Hundreds of thousands of subscribers started cross-pollinating channels, leading to a massive tide that lifted every ship. Pokemon as a community was at an all-time high. Things got quiet for a while with Pokemon after that. Sun and Moon didn't take the world by storm like their predecessors did. It felt like Pokemon was on a pretty sharp decline. There were still plenty of creators treading water with Pokemon content, but by 2019, even with the release of Sword and Shield, it just wasn't catching fire like it used to. Growth had plateaued, and most people watching Pokemon YouTube were the same people who had been watching it in the past. It was failing to grab new viewers. Something new had to happen. A new trend had to take over. And boy did it take over. Sure, anybody can beat Pokemon with a team of 6. But what about a team of 1 Pokemon for the entire game? Enter the solo challenge era of YouTube. And this era had 2 absolute behemoth creators that dominated it. Madry Bread, who capitalized on this challenge idea and ran with it, effectively becoming the face of solo challenge runs, and then the king themselves, Alpha Rad. I guarantee you've seen this video on your recommended feed. Can you beat Pokemon Emerald with only Mudkip? A Pokemon Emerald playthrough with 12 million views. It dwarfed almost all Pokemon content that came before it and caused a resurgence in Pokemon on YouTube. Suddenly, everyone was trying different solo challenges. Just a Charizard? Sure. Just a Coughing? Alright. Just a Magikarp? What? Can you beat Pokemon with just blank became the most common title of Pokemon videos, and the algorithm loved it, and so did the viewers. People were always curious to see what kind of tricks and strategies the creators would come up with to triumph over these seemingly impossible odds. Pokemon had reached a totally new format which we still see today. I like to call it casual competitive. The people playing these games knew them inside and out. They knew every item location, every move's power and accuracy, every Pokemon's learn set, and they used that information to break these games in half. But with these challenges also came a massive shift in video format. It had been 10 years since the original 60-episode Pokemon series of the past. Viewer retention was at an all-time low, and people were just not watching episodic series of games like they used to. No, if you wanted to keep the public eyes on your screen, you had to show them an entire playthrough in one video. Every single solo challenge was one video showcasing the highlights of the entire Pokemon game playthrough start to finish, edited down to about 30 to 40 minutes long. This would become the norm for Pokemon videos going forward, and that's still what we see today. Which leads us into our final era of Pokemon on YouTube, the current landscape of Pokemon videos that have been dominating the gaming sphere and capturing viewers by the millions. It's safe to say that Pokemon, right now, is more popular than it has ever been on YouTube from a purely views standpoint. It is incredibly difficult to describe the modern era of Pokemon on YouTube. The other eras were clearly defined. The Classic era, the ROM hack era, the Nuzlocke era, the Solo Challenge era. But today, I just like to call it the what the f*** era, because the videos about Pokemon now are all completely unique, diverse, and kind of insane. There are so many brand new creators dominating right now, like Point Crow, Small Ant, and Pokemon Challenges, just to name a few, and even some familiar faces like Alpha Rad are still around and dropping unique Pokemon content now and then. But all of these videos are taking the solo challenge format and making things infinitely more insane. There's no rhyme or reason anymore. Anything is fair game. Pokemon is being made as difficult as possible in as many creative ways as possible. Pokemon, but I lose 1 HP every step. Pokemon, but my team is all level 1s. Pokemon, but I can only use shinies. Emerald, Kaizo, Nuzlocke. Seriously, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look this up. It's ridiculous. All of these challenges wildly change the base game of Pokemon by adding 1 or 2 simple new rules. They make the game not only a challenge of skill, but also of luck and persistence. The content is no longer about the base Pokemon game itself, but rather just to see if the creator can finish the game under these insane restrictions. These challenges often take dozens of hours and sometimes over 100 attempts just to beat a single time. And this has meshed perfectly with the streaming landscape of modern day over on Twitch. Now, these creators can stream one challenge for a full week, 30 to 40 hours of streaming to accomplish this one challenge that can be viewed live and then heavily edited down into an entertaining 45-minute viral video with just the most important parts left in. It generates content on multiple platforms at the same time. It's genius, and there's a reason it's currently dominating the YouTube algorithm. Pokemon is at its height on YouTube, and that's undeniable. I have no clue where it'll go next, but what I do know is that it will always be part of YouTube's culture. It's been here since the start, and it won't be going anywhere anytime soon. If I've learned anything from making this video, it's that people will always find ways to make Pokemon harder, more interesting, or just plain different. Also, just so I can be clear, there are plenty of other micro-communities of Pokemon videos that emerged over the years. Things like top 10s, the competitive battling scene, strictly informative channels, all of those have always been around, but I don't think they had quite the cultural impact on the YouTube landscape as these eras defined here today. There was also the Smash or Pass thing that happened a year or two ago.
Smash.
That was a thing. Even now, people like Jaden are animating their playthroughs, giving things like basic Nuzlocke a resurgence in popularity. The future of Pokemon on YouTube is interesting, and I think we're gonna start seeing the culture subdivide into a lot more of those micro communities. And personally, I can't wait. Thank you for watching.